Great. Okay, so let's start with Heather, you're leaving, okay? So we'll start with setting up a Google Meet. So I just want to double check. You can write in the chat box. So do you have a Google or a Gmail account? So Kyla, Mohammed, Stephanie, Yachta, Zainab, do you have Gmail accounts or Google accounts? Okay. All right, so setting up your Google Meet. So you'll first need to go to your Gmail. Okay, so I'll share my screen. And up at the top, you'll see a waffle menu. And then you're going to click on calendar. So let me know. So if everybody wants to jump on mic, can you just let me know where you're at in terms of bringing up your Gmail, finding the calendar? You could write in the chat box as well. Okay. And Zainab, have you set up a Google Meet before? Okay. All right, so after you're in the calendar, so you're going to choose, I'm going to delete this one. You're going to choose your day and time that you want to set up. So go ahead and click your date and time. And then you can title. So you can, for location, you could say online. And then this is where you're going to add your conferencing. So Hangouts Meet. You could even insert a notification, like how far in advance people will be notified of the session. I'm going to say 1 hour before. You can insert your description. And then try attaching something either from your Google Drive or an upload. So I'm going to attach this document. And I'm also going to attach this link. All right, so let me know. So Mohammed, Yechta, and Zainab, let me know if you've been able to do this so far. Great. So we'll add our guests. And hit save. Okay. So Zainab, do you want, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I'm going to let you share your screen and you can show me where you're at. All right, Zainab, are you, have you shared a screen before?
I shared it, but when I created the meeting and with the school's account, but on my personal, I don't find this meeting, the Google Meets.
Okay, so yeah, so it's probably only connected to your school account. Are you able to sign in with your school account?
I can, yes. But for my personal, I have to create, I don't have now my
Okay,
meets on my Google Drive. My personal, it's not there, and it's not there for every account.
yeah. Okay, so it's, yeah, it must just be connected to your business account. Yetshta, have you had the same problem?
No, I didn't try to use my personal account, but now, okay, I can use the school's account. I think it might work.
Okay.
So do I have to use the calendar or I just go to the Google Meet?
So you can, the calendar is for you to set up a future dated meeting. If you, and that allows you to attach, you know, files and add
Yes,
comments,
exactly.
that kind of thing, and have a calendar kind of invite sent to everybody. But you could also just set it up automatically. So I'm just going to go back to sharing my screen.
Okay.
So the other way to set up your Google Meet, if you don't want to necessarily do all that info input, if you don't need to do a future dated meeting, when you go to your waffle at the top right hand corner, you can also go down to Meet and just click it automatically. And then this takes you to an automatically created meeting that you could join right away. So you can hit join or start a meeting. And then I'm going to say language class, continue. And then it's automatically setting up the class. So right now I'm going to have two different Google Meets going at the same time. You can hit join now, and then it gives you the joining info that you can just add people or copy it into a new email. So you can either do it instantly or you can do a future dated meeting. So I'm just going to pause. When I opened up that second Google Meet, did my mic cut out for you here? Or could you hear me there? Hello?
Yes.
Yep, you can hear me? Okay. So what I'm going to do then is I'm going to show you the different features once you're actually in Google Meet. So can you let me know if you can see my Google Meet right now?
Yes. Just the mail, your screen.
Oh, just email. Okay. 1 sec.
Yes.
All right. So I'm switching over so that you can see what I see in Google Meet. So now you should see you are presenting to everyone. Is that what you see?
Yes.
Okay. So down at the bottom, when I hover over the bar, it pops up the name of the meeting, the mic settings, the video settings, turn on captions, and then also, I'm just going to move this over, the 3-button menu, more options on the very right. So we'll just start on the left-hand side. So in terms of the meeting info, when you make that menu bigger, it gives you the title, the description. So this would be any information that you had put in the calendar invite. This would also be where people could find any attachments that you may have included. And it gives you the joining meeting info again. So if there's somebody who didn't get the calendar invite or they quickly need access to the meeting, you can come here, hit copy joining info. So that copies it to your clipboard, and then you could send them either a message or an email, and they could quickly jump on the meeting. The other thing is, obviously everybody's played around with this, but the mute. One good thing to know about mic mute is if you have people in your classroom and they're not familiar with the mic features and maybe they don't realize that their mic is on, you can actually hover over their image and you can mute them. So I'm not going to mute you, Zainab, but this message would appear and then I could hit mute. The only thing about muting students is that unless they know that you've gone to mute them, you can't unmute them. So they have to unmute themselves. So if you mute students and then you ask them a question, they have to unmute themselves. The other thing that's handy is the turn on captions. So if I hit turn on captions, then underneath, so you'll see at the very bottom, now Google Meet is now captioning everything that I'm saying. They do a pretty good job of being able to record accurately what the speaker is saying, but keep in mind that a student has to enable this on their own computer screen. So if you enable it, you are the only person that sees the capturing. So if a student does have accessibility issues, you need to tell them how to turn on the captioning. And again, that's just this button at the bottom right. So I'm going to turn off captioning. And then beside captioning, right now it says you are presenting because I'm already presenting, but if I wasn't, it would say start presenting. And so you would hit that and it will give you the option to choose a window that you want to share. So it's a good idea to look carefully at all the windows that pop up if you have multiple windows open, and to select only the window that you want to share in case you have something else open on your screen that you don't want all your students to see. But for me, I tend to close all windows and tabs, sign out of any instant messaging before I share my screen, so I know that nothing's going to pop up that I don't want other people to see. Then the very last feature is down at the bottom right where there's those three buttons. It says more options. When you open that, so if you have an education account, you most likely have the ability to record. So that would be at the top there. So we're recording now. That's why my only option is to stop recording. You can change the layout. So you can either have what we have right now. So the students appear in the sidebar and then there's the content in the middle of the screen. Or if it's more of a discussion setup, you might want to choose tiled instead, where videos are shared instead of content. So you can see each other. There's it facilitates more kind of conversation and dialogue. And I'll just close that. And then the last is use phone for audio. So this means that if students are having difficulty hearing, if they're having difficulty with their connection, they could use a phone. So you can click that, and then it gives them the ability to insert their phone number. So I'm going to put in my phone number here. Okay, and then hit call me. And then you'll notice here, I don't know if you can see that, but Google Meet is calling me, and then I can answer and I can join audio through my phone. So I'll just hang up that. So dismiss. And then the only other features that you need to know about, obviously, are toggling back and forth. And I'm sure you're already familiar with this, but between the chat and the attendees list. When you're in the attendees list, what I find helpful is that if a student is talking and you want their video to be pinned, when you hover over their face, you get this pin option and mute option. So you can either choose to mute them or you can choose to pin them, which gives you this up close pinned image of them so that they're not just one of a few video boxes, but they're the main portion of the screen so that everybody can see their lips, they can see their face up close, and then you can unpin. So I'll just pause there. I know everybody has different experience levels, different maybe questions with Google Meet, but just want to give you time to either play or to ask specific questions that you may have had. And I'll just stop presenting here.
So can we mute students and allow them not to unmute themselves, like I'm using Zoom? So I have this option. I can mute students and they are not allowed to unmute themselves.
That I haven't seen in Google Meet. You can mute them and then they have to unmute themselves, but they have the ability to unmute themselves.
Yes.
Yeah.
We have an option like raising. I'm using Zoom for 3 weeks now. They can raise their hands if they have a question or something to just let me know that there are some questions.
Yeah, so the thing with Google Meet is that it's very basic. So it's really easy for people to instantly engage because there's not a lot of features. So with Zoom, there's more settings that you can play around with, but there's maybe like a little bit more of a steeper learning curve because you have to find out where all the different features are. But in Google Meet, it's really bare bones. So if students have a question, they'd either have to type it in the chat box and you as the teacher would have to kind of keep glancing over at the chat box, or they'd have to unmute their mic and kind of like speak up. But for us, the way that we kind of get around that is we usually have two people kind of leading a session so that one person's on camera presenting and the other person is monitoring the chat box. So that's one suggestion. I mean, you could have either like if you team teach or if you ask a student in the class to kind of help you monitor the chat box, that's one workaround. But if you're using Zoom, Zoom is, I would say if you're allowed to keep using Zoom, I would use that probably over Google Meet.
It's good for because I have about sometimes 20, 23 students. So
yeah,
that's the big difference.
Yeah. So the other thing that I just wanted to leave you with, I'll just share my screen again. And I'm going to pop back to the slides. So we don't obviously have enough time right now, but if you did want to take some time to go to these individual links, so when you hover over, they're all hyperlinked. You'll see the website links pop up. And each of those Google Suite tools has a whole bunch of different ways that you could use them in the classroom. So I've kind of curated different resources for you so that you could see creative ways of adapting the Google Suite for your classroom. So this is an example of one website. So how to use Google Docs. So you can take a look through that. I would say if you're going to look through any of them, I would head over to Google Forms because there's a lot you can do with Google Forms. You can use it to create flipped learning lessons. You can use it as an informal assessment tool. You can use it to check in with parents, to sign up for things. Like there's so many different ways that you can use it. So this is an example of a teacher creating a lesson with it. Collecting information, conference notes log, student interest survey, even peer review, so like a rubric creation tool, a reading log. So I would say, after the session on your own time, if you want to go through those, and if you have any questions or you need any extra ideas, you can always email us.